Shocking. I used my smart home to trap my family's $4 million inheritance fraud. Dad left me a fortress disguised as a house. Cameras, sensors, a server that never sleeps. When he died, my family swarmed like coupon day at Chaos Mart, all smiles and teeth. I wanted a clean split, my quiet life, zero drama, and to keep the systems humming. Then the accident happened. My signature appeared where my hand never touched. $4 million suddenly ambulatory. But doorbell metadata, IP logs, and HomeKit automations don't do family. They do facts. I vanished, triggered a nuclear ghosting, and turned the house into a mirror that only reflected the truth. They trapped themselves. I just pressed play. The bomb dropped a rewind. Here's the bomb. I locked them inside the house they tried to steal. Not with chains, with timestamps. Alarms chirped, lights tracked them room to room. A calm voice asked for executor identification while the non-emergency police line got a live feed. The bank's fraud team watched too. When the cruiser rolled up, the judge already had the clip. How did I pull that off without ever touching them? And what ugly truth did it drag into daylight? Beyond greed, beyond family? One question drove every move. How do you nuke a $4 million inheritance fraud without lifting a finger? Rewind with me to the first ping that didn't fit. A doorbell press at 2:14 a.m. No knock, gloves, a clipboard, and a shadow that smelled like paperwork. Dad told me once, if they push you, use the house. I didn't know he meant it literally until that night. Let me roll back to the first log. The setup, the lie, the first pings. Dad's will was clean. A straight split, no hidden clauses, me as the tech trustee because I'd built his systems and never missed a maintenance window. At the reading, my siblings smiled the way people smile when they think a camera's on them. Cheeks up, eyes calculating. I told myself we'd be fine. Then I watched them count the rooms before they finished their condolences. The house was a polite spy. Door and window sensors. A rack humming in the basement. PoE switches, NVR, redundant NAS, offsite replication at 3:17 every night. Doorbell cam with HDR and a habit of catching people right as they forgot it was there. Every morning, I checked a daily audit, a ritual like coffee. The logs never lied, only waited. The first off note was tiny, a late-night press on the doorbell at 2:14 a.m. No knock, no follow-up ring. Just wait on the button and a silhouette doing the posture of official clipboard. Gloves, quick glance at the lens, then a pivot out of frame. I scrubbed back. The overlay timestamp read 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 32 seconds, but the file's internal creation time said 2 hours, 15 minutes, and 59 seconds. An 87-second drift in a device that syncs to NTP every hour? That's not a hiccup. That's someone running it through a container and nudging the edges. Metadata tattles. It always does. 2 days later, the probate clerk sent a polite email. Thanks for your signature received. Attached was a consent form, with my name flowing like someone practiced my loop for a week and never figured out my pressure on the downstroke. I don't write M's like that. I stared at it long enough to feel my scalp go cold. If they switched the executor, I wouldn't just lose the house. I'd lose the accounts, the safe deposit keys, the quiet life Dad had intended. So I did the only sane thing. I pulled logs and opened a new folder called Karma. Start with the doorbell. The frame overlay said one thing. The MKV container said another. The clock skew matched a post-process export. I dragged the file through EXIF tool just to be petty. The stream metadata matched my camera's serial, but the MUX timecode showed a re-encode. You can paint the walls. The studs still tell on you. Then the Wi-Fi associations. My guest SSID is a honeypot with manners. At 2:14 a.m., it saw a device with a randomized MAC wander into range and chirp a probe. People think random MACs mean invisibility. They forget probe request elements can still fingerprint chipset families and behavior fingerprints too. Association intervals, supported rates, HT capabilities order. DHCP declined, but I still logged the probe and later matched the behavior to my cousin's iPhone model from prior captures. Humans are habits. The house remembers. Next, the eSign audit trail. Their platform stamped a certificate of completion with IP, geo, and a user agent that tried to look like me. Except my machines ran macOS 13, and the UA said 1.2.6.3 with a Safari build I never touched. My home IP wasn't anywhere near that signature. Their office block was. The audit didn't scream, it just hummed the wrong tune. That's enough. I printed the consent and checked for the tell. Most color laser printers whisper with yellow dots. Machine identification codes. Tiny constellations you don't see unless you ask. I scanned the page at 120 dpi, bumped the blues out, and the sky lit. Date, time, and printer serial baked into the page like smug freckles. I ran the grid against an EF decoder pattern and got a match that lived at my brother's house. I'd been there. I'd seen the exact machine. They tried remote notarization too. The video they filed had me in a shirt I don't own, in a room I don't have, with a webcam that never breathed. EXIF said wrong time zone, a UVC identified non-Apple webcam, an exposure locked flat like a plate. No auto white balance drift, no sensor noise at the edges, no micro motion pulse in the cheeks. A virtual background posing as a room. The notary stamp number? A reverse lookup later tied it to an expired, non-renewed license. For now, the smell was enough. My phone buzzed. My sister, can we stop making this hard? I typed and erased 10 versions of nothing. I remember Dad flipping pancakes, making checksum jokes. Trust, then verify the verification. I heard his voice again. If they push you, use the house. The house wasn't just a place, it was a witness with perfect memory. Stakes clarified themselves. If they got a temporary control order, they could start moving funds under the color of legitimacy. It would be slow to undo and quick to devastate. I needed leverage larger than any argument. I needed time, and time is best bought with proof that survives a shredder. So I set rules. No contact, no threats, only signals and receipts. I built a vacation mode profile that looked like laziness, lights on random, TV murmurs, but sat on a hair trigger. If their phones crossed the geofence, the safe relocked, the cameras pivoted. The bank got a ping stamped with GPS and UTC. I tuned the UPS downstairs, checked LTE failover, cleaned the syslog stream. I scheduled a motion to contest, but held it like a trap that needed teeth. Then they set a date to inventory Dad's assets, a word that made my jaw tick. So I packed a bag, turned off the coffee maker, and moved out. The house didn't mind. It prefers to work alone. The digital scent, metadata, doesn't lie. As the door closed behind me and the guest room turned into mission control, I poured the house into folders. Karma wasn't a name. It was a workflow. Step 1. The doorbell anomaly. I lined up the overlay timestamp against the MKV container's creation and modification fields. The overlay said 2 hours 14 minutes and 32 seconds, but the MUX timecodes hinted at a re-encode. The NTP sync device clock drifts less than half a second a day. This was 87 seconds sideways. I pulled the container metadata, duration tags, segment info, writing app fingerprints, and there it was, a post-process export signature from a different software build than lives on my server. You can kick a footprint into sand, but the gate still gives you away. I dragged the file through EXIF tool out of spite. Doorbells don't embed full EXIF like a DSLR, but many tag container metadata and stream comments, codec, writing app, HDR toggles. The sensor profile matched my unit serial, but the frame index jumps betrayed a splice. 2 frames dead center had a bitrate wobble that only shows up when someone recompresses after trimming. Dumb edits leave smart crumbs. I moved to Wi-Fi. My guest SSID runs like a friendly concierge and a forensic archivist. Probe requests at 2:14 lit up my logs with a randomized MAC. But the OUI from the probe's supported rates said, those are stubborn, pointed at an Apple baseband. Behavior fingerprinting told the rest. The spacing on retries, the order of the HT capabilities, the way it flirted with WPA3 but settled for WPA2 like a tired thief. I compared it to captures from last Thanksgiving when my cousin forgot to ask for the Wi-Fi. Same cadence, same impatient scan pattern. DHCP was declined, but my AP still recorded the handshake attempts and their RSSI arc as he walked the sidewalk. He thought he was invisible. He's never met my syslog. The eSign audit trail did that smug thing digital receipts do. Polite, boring, devastating. Certificate of completion showed an IP block assigned to my brother's office suite, not my home ISP. The user-agent string told a fuller story, macOS 12.6.3 with an older Safari/WebKit build. My Macs were on macOS 13 with a newer WebKit. You can fake a name, you rarely fake maintenance habits. Even the screen resolution embedded in the audit hinted at a non-Retina external monitor. My desk is all Retina, no exceptions. All their polish, and they left the equivalent of ketchup on a white shirt. Paper time. I scanned their consent on a flatbed, knocked the blue channel out, and the page turned into a star map. MIC yellow dots. Machine identification codes. Little constellations color printers sprinkle that nobody talks about until someone needs to go to jail. I overlaid the EFF decoder grid and pulled a neat timestamp, 2:11 a.m. last Tuesday, with a serial that matched a brother color laser sitting in my brother's home office, 2 feet from his leaning tower of unfilled receipts. I joked about those receipts. The page didn't laugh. They'd wrapped it all with remote notarization. The video file they filed had me in a static little rectangle that didn't blink right. I checked EXIF wrong time zone for my location, UVC vendor ID pointing to a budget webcam, constant exposure locked like a painting. Real rooms breathe, lights hum, faces drift in tone, auto white balance chases the sun. Their clips sat there like a catalog photo. I zoomed into reflections in a cheap frame behind me and caught the boxy outline of a softbox. I don't own studio lights. I own a desk lamp and a grudge. I replayed the doorbell clip again because I wanted to be wrong. The overlay clock ticked. The internal time code lagged. The smear at the edges of one frame said the encoder hiccuped during recompression. The courier turned just enough to flash a cheekbone I knew. My sister has a way she smiles when she lies. Only one side commits. The house caught the almost smile. I built a timeline that didn't care about feelings. Probe request at 2:14, doorbell press seconds later, edited export drift of 87 seconds. Printer mic at 2:11. E-sign audit 2 hours after with the wrong UA and the office IP. Remote notary video encoded overnight with a notary stamp I reverse search to find a license that expired 2 years ago. The edges aligned into a box. They assumed that if they took the breaker down, they'd kill the witness. So I stress tested the backbone. Rack-mounted UPS units reported 90 minutes under current load. PoE kept cams and the door lock controllers alive. LTE failover cut over in 12 seconds during a mock blackout and started whispering to the cloud again. Every log stream shipped upstream to an immutable bucket with object lock and a retention policy nobody, including me, could delete. Timecodes locked to NTP and a monotonic counter, so even clock skew wouldn't smear causality. If the house had a pulse, it was counting out loud. Dad had said, "Use the house." Translation: let physics and math keep you honest. I salted each log entry and signed it. I set the exporter to roll a Merkle tree hash ladder every hour, pin the root hash with a trusted time authority, and email the digest to my attorney's archive. No arguments, no grandstanding. Just cryptographic boredom that a judge could love. Last piece. Make mistakes expensive. I stood up a fake admin dashboard on a private URL. The big, shiny button watermarked the page with IP, time, and device UA the moment anyone clicked, then dropped a 1-pixel hash beacon into cache so even screenshots told on themselves. If they tried a VPN, WebRTC stun ICE would still reveal the public exit IP and sometimes local candidates despite a VPN. If they switched to a hotspot, my passive IMSI logger sitting in a Faraday-painted toolbox would note their devices blowing kisses at the tower. I sat back, listened to the server fans purr, and felt the house settle into the role Dad built it for. Not a fortress, a witness that never sleeps. The ghost plan, designing the trap. Macro loop first. Erase their fraud without touching them. No calls, no texts, no righteous speeches that end up as screenshots out of context. Signals only, receipts only. If they wanted paper, I'd give them paper that bled math. I wrote the rules on a sticky note and stuck it to the server door. 1, I don't initiate. 2, I don't obstruct. 3, I let them sign their own names to their own mess. 4, every action they take flips a switch somewhere they can't see. Vacation mode wasn't a vibe. It was a playbook. I tuned lighting scenes to look like a human with bad habits. Kitchen light on 5 minutes at 9:07, bathroom fan at random, TV murmurs that cycled between a news anchor and a sitcom laugh track. Under that camouflage, I wired hair triggers. Non-authorized devices breaching the geofence spun up a stack. Safe relock. Interior cameras pivot to watch drawers and safes. Microphones capture first contact, and the bank's fraud webhook gets a packet stamped with GPS. UTC, and my device cert. If they pushed the front door keypad and failed twice, the webhook also went to the estate's trustee inbox with a subject line that started tamper. I tied banking to presence like a pacemaker. The accounts wore automations. If an access attempt occurred within 10 minutes of a geofence breach, freeze the relevant sub-account and alert AML. If an IP tried my fake admin panel, watermark the attempt, and embed a 1-pixel hash in their browser cache, they'd think they were seeing control. They'd be seeing their reflection. Legal chess needed timing. I drafted the motion to contest, lined up exhibits by hash, and told my attorney 3 things. Hold this until we have trespass footage during pending litigation. Push the e-sign audit trail only when the first transfer flag pings, and have the special master language ready in case the judge likes gadgets. My house would be the one testifying. I'd be a seat in the back, eating a waffle. Dad's line, use the house, kept circling. It wasn't revenge, it was design. I foreshadowed for myself, because I knew how they think. They believe possession is 9/10. So I made possession radioactive. If they held a key, the lock logged. If they flipped a drawer, the hinge might caught the wine and the joke they cracked to feel brave. If they printed anything, the hallway cam picked up the flicker that every laser throws when it sleeps and wakes. Little things become big when you line them up. They set a date to inventory Dad's assets, a phrase people use when they want to steal with a spreadsheet. Therefore, I moved out. I took a backpack, a laptop, a hardware key, and nothing sentimental. The house prefers to work unsupervised. It gets shy when you watch it. Then I designed the lever, a clean, mechanical arc that clicked from maybe to, oh, I wrote a scene. The day they arrive, speakers announce in the flattest voice, executive audit in progress. Please present identification for executor access. Not a trap, a request. When they ignore it, and they would, I had the rack on UPS for 90 minutes. LTE failover tested at 12 seconds. Syslog streaming into an object-locked bucket that neither I nor God could delete. Timecodes locked to NTP and a monotonic counter, hash ladder rolling on the hour. Root hashes timestamped by a trusted authority and emailed to counsel. If they decided to pull the main breaker, the house would whisper to the cloud like it was telling a friend a secret. I needed a moral line I could live with. No harm, no threats, just mirrors. If they stopped, the house went quiet. If they pushed, the house talked louder. That was the boundary. I didn't sleep better, but I slept. I added small baits that didn't look like baits. A folder on the desktop named Tax Old. Inside, a PDF with a file name that included passwords and nothing of value beyond the pixel beacon that would marry their click to their device. Another, a fake shared drive link sent to my own decoy account, publicly discoverable if you searched hard enough for the wrong thing. If they were going to rummage, I'd let them find what I wanted them to find. Final passes. Rotate account recovery keys, enforce passkeys and hardware tokens, set the carrier port out pin, enable SIM swap locks across carriers that never pick up when you need them. I rehearsed the exit. New lease name, P.O. box, eastbound train, silent socials, one scheduled obituary for the email I never liked. I walked the house one last time. The living room smelled like dust and lemon oil and the warm, metallic breath of the rack. I put my palm on the server door like I was checking a sleeping dog's ribs. If they push, I said out loud, you know what to do. The house didn't answer. It never does. It just logs. First battle, inventory day ambush. They arrived with tote bins and a fake sense of purpose. 3 cars nose to tail like a parade for bad decisions. The house felt them first, geofence prickle, devices grazing the boundary, and flipped its face to neutral. I watched from a diner 5 miles away, fork parked in cooling waffles, audio in my earbuds turned low enough to hear the room breathe. The foyer motion tickled on, then the latch rattled. 2 keypad fails in a row, just like practice, and the webhook sprinted to the bank with GPS and UTC, while a second packet hopped to the trustee inbox labeled tamper. The speaker by the hallway cleared its throat and said, calm as a dentist, executive audit in progress. Please present identification for executor access. They looked up like the ceiling had judged them. My brother tried to grin. It's our house. The camera above the mantel blinked awake and slid on its PoE rail to frame his hands. The house doesn't negotiate. It records. They split like they'd rehearsed. My sister to Dad's office. My cousin to the safe in the den. Mom's friend, the one with comforting casseroles and opinions, hovered near the printer like it was a shrine. They killed the breaker with a satisfied clunk, and the house barely yawned. Rack-mounted UPS units took the weight. PoE switches hummed steady. NVR eyes blinked. Router sipped battery, and LTE failover slid the WAN back inside 12 seconds. Cloud uplink resumed like a whisper returning to a story. The office door was new steel over old wood. My compromise between nostalgia and people who don't knock. The thermal cam in the hallway watched a white bloom appear at the lock as my brother warmed a cheap torch he'd bought for projects. Inside the office, a pinhole camera behind a book spine caught the key jiggle through. He muttered, "We'll say we found it open." And the bookshelf mic picked the sentence clean. In the kitchen, their tote lids thumped like punctuation. The mic over the island caught my sister saying, "Take only what we can justify." And then, softer, "He's going to make this ugly." The speaker, neutral as a cue card, repeated, "Please present identification for executor access." They ignored it the way people ignore smoke alarms on TV. I watched the DIN cam pivot. My cousin, arm deep in the safe drawer, pulled out a manila folder with theatrical surprise. Here it is. Consent. The cam's lens washed a tiny flare across the page. Laser fuser sheen, the kind MIC yellow dots danced on. The hallway wide shot got the printer's sleep-wake flicker. The office cam got the staple angle. The foyer cam reflected his phone screen in a framed photo's glass. I froze that frame on my laptop and read the phone model off the notification shade like it was printed in the bottom corner. They laid the consent on the kitchen counter like it had been found in a cave. I took a still from above and another at a raking angle for the exposure ladder. EXIF on the still frames came clean. No edits, HDR off, shutter stepping the way my cams do when they're bored. I smiled into my coffee. My cloud OCR chewed the page in real time, flagged staple holes that didn't match the earlier filing, and logged a note. MIC pattern present. Decode later. Somewhere between tote 3 and tote 4, they remembered the cameras. My sister dragged a chair under the living room dome and looked for a button that didn't exist. Mom's friend covered a hallway cam with a tea towel, then patted it like she'd put a baby down for a nap. The dome cam in the opposite corner watched through the gap the towel left, because towels don't have ND ratings. The house prefers redundant angles over arguments. Downstairs, the router closet door opened and an ocean of water hit the floor. Someone had decided a pipe leak would add plausible deniability and maybe drown a few eyes. The UPS in the rack beeped twice, offended. Cameras kept whispering their packets to the cloud. Timecodes kept locking to NTP and the monotonic counter, refusing to let chaos smear cause and effect. Syslog shipped to the immutable bucket with object lock like a clerk who doesn't smile. The hallway mic caught a different rhythm then, the sound of a rubber stamp thunking on paper. My sister said, "Make it official," and Mom's friend obliged, pressing a notary stamp that looked crisp enough to be newborn. The audio angle brought their breaths together. I zoomed the overhead frame in, counted dots along the margin, and filed the moment under paper that screams. The stamp number would have a history. I could already feel the shape of it. They gathered for a quick huddle by Dad's chair. My brother pitched a plan. Call the bank from the office phone so caller ID says the right line. Present consent, move the high yield first. My cousin nodded hard. Mom's friend said, "If anyone asks, he gave it to me last week." The speaker, unfazed, said, "Please present identification for executor access." They didn't. I let the scene play out until the first call connected, then watched the bank's AML alert pop through my inbox like a signal flare. Flag transfer attempt, partial hold placed, awaiting documentation. I forwarded the notarization audit packet I'd built, attached the EXIF and UA mismatches, and dropped a polite cover note any judge could quote. They stayed another hour, taking photos, narrating discoveries for the camera they pretended not to see. When they left, the house exhaled. The breaker stayed down. The rack breathed battery, then mains. Logs rolled. Hash ladder climbed. I paid my bill, left cash because my card lives in logs, and walked into a sky that felt like clean code. The first battle wasn't noisy. It was accurate. And accuracy, the bank run, when you're turning money into evidence, feels like murder. The morning after inventory day, they shifted from theater to wiring money. I could feel the tempo in the logs. Texts pinging between their phones on my geofence edge. A calendar entry called bank errands. then a deliberate quiet like actors waiting for their cue. I sat 2 booths back at the same diner, same waffles, because routine keeps you from grand gestures. Front door keypad, 2 deliberate fails. That wasn't about getting in. That was about lighting up my automation so they could claim attempted access. Good. The webhook sprinted to the bank's fraud API with GPS, UTC, and my device cert. A second copy slid to the trustee inbox tagged tamper. 10 seconds later, the fraud dashboard I'd stood up for them did its job. Big, shiny admin button, readable with a borrowed password, watermarking every pixel with IP, time, and the user agent string they didn't bother to disguise. When they tapped it, a 1-pixel hash beacon sat down in their cache like a dog settling on a rug. They'd learned one thing: don't use my Wi-Fi. So they parked outside and fired up a hotspot. Fine. The IMSI logger in my Faraday-painted toolbox yawned, then started writing down device IDs as they blew kisses at the nearest tower. A VPN blinked on. Good taste, bad timing. And they ran the fake dashboard through it, thinking they'd ghost the IP. WebRTC stunned ICE politely revealed the exit IP anyway, and the block matched the same /24 from the eSign audit trail. People change tactics, not habits, and the UA string and patch cadence gave them away. The first transfer they queued was a test. Move 50 grand from a high yield to an external where they thought they'd be cleaned. The bank's AML system half froze it before the last click, flagged for unusual device, flagged for location mismatch, flagged for my webhook screaming from the front door 5 minutes earlier. The AML analyst called me. I kept my voice flat. I forwarded the notarization audit packet. EXIF time zone off, remote webcam mismatch, UA strings with macOS 12.6.3 pretending to be me when my fleet runs 13+, IP geolocation to their office suite, and the MIC yellow dot decode stamped 2:11 a.m. on their fresh consent. I added one line: chain of custody hash ladder attached, root hash timestamped by a trusted authority at each interval. They pivoted like amateurs, pretending to be pros. My brother tried calling the bank from Dad's old office line for the caller ID halo, reading from a script that had executor underlined like it made him taller. The bank asked for verification. He sent a photo of the consent, still warm from last night's scanning. My watermark sat in the PDF's pixels, quiet as a tattoo. On my end, the click-through to the admin page triggered the pixel again, this time on a different device. Mom's friend's tablet. Same WebKit oddities, same hotspot IMSI echo. The bank asked for the notary's license. They sent the stamp number I'd already reverse searched to a dead commission. The analyst put me on hold and looped in legal. While they waited in a parking lot, plotting how to say urgent without saying panic, my house filed a little affidavit without me. Geofence entries aligned to keypad fails, audio snippets of "we'll say we found it open," thermal footage of the torch, and the transfer attempt timestamps lining up like teeth in a gear. Every log line salted and signed, every hour rolled into the Merkle tree. Root hash anchored to a time authority. Digest emailed to my attorney and archived. Boredom, but admissible. They tried the external bank next, a credit union they thought would be looser. The moment they authenticated, my decoy dashboard offered an override button the size of a billboard. They clicked it, because humans click big things when they feel small. The overlay wrote their IP and UA across the screen in red for the camera in their own reflection. That's the thing about phishing your own attackers. It's not theft, it's a mirror. A text popped up on my phone, from my sister. "You win. Can we talk?" I put the phone face down. Talking is for people who think words outrun logs. At the same time, the judge's clerk pinged my attorney. Emergency motion from my siblings for temporary control, citing possession and uncooperative trustee. We filed our response stapled to a simple thing: a tamper digest notarized via eSeal with device certs, UTC offsets, and the hash ladder index. The house testified in neat rows. I didn't show. I ordered extra syrup. They made one last push, walked into a branch with a folder and a smile. The teller scanned the consent. McDot said 2:11 a.m. The bank scanner recognized the pattern from an internal advisory we'd seated earlier that morning. The branch manager invited them to sit. Polite? Firm. "We've placed a hold pending forensic review." My brother's mouth did the tight smile that means he's trying not to hiss. He asked to withdraw a cashier's check instead. The manager repeated the line and offered water. While they steamed, I sent the AML team the WebRTC leak logs, the IMSI snapshots, and the overlay frames with their devices' UA strings burned into the corners. The AML lead murmured something about appreciating structured evidence. I sent the Merkle route again just because it made me happy. By evening, the transfers were flagged, their external accounts under a soft freeze, and the special master request on the judge's desk. I watched the house lights come on in a pattern nobody could fake, heard the soft click of locks choosing their own side, and let the adrenaline drain. Money didn't move. Evidence did. The notary ghost, paper that screams. I started with the stamp because stamps lie with confidence. Freeze the kitchen overhead where they thunked it down. Crop, enhance, not CSI magic, just patience. The number rode the rim like a license plate. I typed it into 3 different databases, then a 4th that isn't public, but talks if you speak politely through a clerk. Hit, commission expired 2 years ago. The registry note said, non-renewed, deceased. Paper that screams rarely whispers first. Rewind the audio. The stamp makes a dull heartbeat against the counter, and my sister says, make it official. Official, using a ghost. I pulled the PDF they filed and split it apart. The seal image wasn't embedded as vector. It was a flattened bitmap with a neat halo where someone dragged it over a wrinkle. Pixel edges don't lie to people who watch pixels for sport. I mapped compression artifacts. The rest of the document breathed at one quality. The seal wheezed at another. Their remote notary clip wanted to be convincing enough for anyone who doesn't pause. I paused. I ran a crude lip read on my brother when he leaned over the camera, murmuring a name while he shuffled papers. 3 syllables. Soft, G in the middle. I listened again. The same name my hit returned, only said like a memory, not a greeting. Reverse image the notary's profile picture from their site? Dead end. Reverse the stamp number? Obituary. I didn't gloat. I took notes. Then the call record. The court file had a callback log. The notary phoned the clerk to confirm filing. I yanked the number into a lookup. Burner range, prepaid. I can't subpoena tower records, but open source coverage and observed signal strength from my own logs placed the call on a sector that covers my brother's gym. Time lined up with his check-in he brags about. You can get fit and still leave footprints. The webcam in the clip bugged me. EXIF said wrong time zone. Vendor ID pointed to a bargain brand. Exposure stuck like gum. I scrubbed frames for something human. Iris shimmer, a tiny pulse at the temple, the way light stutters when your hand shifts. Nothing. Virtual background as religion. I zoomed a glass cabinet in the room. Reflections betrayed softboxes again, plus a black rectangle that didn't sit flush with the world. A green screen edge leak, charming as a stagehand shoe. I could have called them then. Hey, which cemetery notarized you? That might have felt good for the duration of a deep breath, but Dad's voice arrived with syrup and a diner mug. Trust, verify, then verify the verification. Confrontations feed stories. Receipts feed judges. I filed a quiet request through counsel. Court permission to submit a supplemental affidavit from a system of record, my house. No theatrics. We included the hash ladder digest, root hashes timestamped by a trusted authority. Inside, a section labeled Notary Ghost. Bullet 1, stamp number tied to a deceased license. Scan sealed bitmap mismatched compression. Bullet 2, clip EXIF shows wrong time zone. Non-UVC compliant webcam. Flat exposure inconsistent with live environments. Bullet 3, lip read name matches expired notary. Callback from burner triangulated near relative's gym. Bored to tears, airtight. Reading room found me at a 2-top with butter packets. I remember Dad flipping pancakes and teaching me checksums as if they were riddles. He'd lean in. If a thing is true, it can be proven the same way twice. My fork tapped the plate in time with the mental math. Grief has a strange way of making you organized. They filed an emergency motion, leaning on possession like it was a character witness. Their argument, we're inside, we found consent, we're moving fast because he's uncooperative. Possession-only playbooks fold when paper starts talking. I let the clock tick because every tick strapped another timestamp to their story. The hearing date landed. I added one more thread, a call record of a spoofed notary returning the bank's question. I captured the SIP headers off my VoIP bridge. Their burner had sloppy routing, no steer, shaken signature. The bank's system flagged it as likely spoof. I printed the headers with a little arrow, absence of attestation. Judges don't need jargon. They like arrows. Moral tension crept up the back of my neck. I could text them a single line, "Stop before you drown." But that would make me a participant. The cleaner play is colder. Boundaries are sometimes built from silence that hurts in the moment and heals in the ledger. On the way back to my borrowed room, I passed by the ocean. Wind pushed the smell of salt and metal. I pulled up the overhead from the kitchen again and watched the stamp fall in slow motion. You can see the human wrist in it, a little tremor, a half-second indecision. For a second, I wished I didn't know how to see that. Then the feeling passed. That night, the house prepped its testimony. Log digest rolled. The myrtle tree grew another branch. Root hash anchor. I laid out the exhibit list like tools on a bench. Stamp registry screenshot, obituary, webcam exif, lip read worksheet, tower coverage map, SIP headers. No commentary. The story tells itself if you refuse to interrupt it. They planned a bank run around a ghost's signature. I planned a mirror. When you hold a lie up to itself long enough, it starts describing you. The bank run, turning money into evidence. The morning after, their confidence sounded like tires on gravel. Calendar ping. Bank errands. Then radio silence, which is louder than noise when people think they're clever. I took my corner booth, same waffles, because ritual is ballast. The house pulsed steady in my ear. 2 front door keypad fails on purpose. They wanted my system to chirp so they could claim I was blocking. Perfect. The webhook fired to the bank's fraud API with GPS, UTC, and my device cert. A second copy slid to the trustee inbox labeled tamper, timestamped down to the millisecond. 10 seconds later, their consolation prize lit up. My fake admin dashboard. Big capital admin, fat button, easy font. They clicked like it was candy. The page watermarked itself with IP, time, device UA. A 1-pixel hash beacon tucked into their cache like a seed. They hid in the car and spun up a hotspot. Fine. The IMSI logger, napping in a Faraday-painted toolbox under my porch, opened one eye and wrote down their device IDs as they kissed the nearest tower. A VPN snapped on, green checkmark smug. WebRTC stun still leaked the exit IP because browsers are helpful even when you wish they weren't. The block matched the eSign audit IP. People don't change their gate mid-sprint. First transfer, a feeler. 50 grand from high yield to an external they thought was invisible. The bank's AML engine half froze it on contact. Unfamiliar device fingerprint. Location mismatch. My webhook screaming from the keypad minutes earlier. The AML analyst called me with a voice like a librarian who's seen everything. I kept mine boring. I forwarded the notarization audit. EXIF time zone wrong. Webcam model mismatch. UA strings pegged to macOS 1.2.6.3 and an older Safari, while my fleet sits on macOS 13 Plus. IP geolocation. Their office suite, not my home. Attachment 2. Mike yellow.decode. 2:11 a.m. print. Serial mapped to their color laser. Attachment 3. My chain of custody digest. Each log salted and signed. Hourly Merkle hash ladder. Root hash timestamped by a trusted time authority. The analyst hummed. Structured. Thank you. They pivoted to phone. My brother read executor from a script into a handset he chose for Caller ID Halo. The branch asked for verification. He emailed the consent, still damp from last night's scan. The PDF wore my pixel watermark quiet as freckles. Mom's friend tried the admin override on my decoy again, on a different device this time. My overlay printed her tablet's UA across the screen in red letters a toddler could read. The IMSI logger logged. The WebRTC leak smirked. They drove to a friendlier credit union and went analog. They smiled, slid the folder. The teller scanned, paused. Our advisory, seeded earlier with AML, flagged the MIC dot pattern and the print timestamp that couldn't exist when they claimed it did. The manager stepped out with water and a sentence that means stop without saying stop. We've placed a hold pending forensic review. My brother did the tight smile that squeezes words into his molars. On my side, the house filed its homework without me. Geofence entries aligned to keypad fails, and that calm voice asking for executor ID. Thermal showed the torch. Audio had, "We'll say we found it open." The front door auth failures pushed webhooks to the bank's fraud endpoint with GPS. The decoy dashboard collected clicks, burned IP, time, device UA into the corners, and dropped unique pixel hashes into whatever browser they borrowed. My syslog fed the immutable bucket, object lock on, retention set to stubborn. Each hour, the Merkle tree climbed, and the root hash got notarized by time like a stamp on a passport. Their VPN kept flipping. WebRTC kept tattling. They tried the external account again from a coffee shop that thinks free Wi-Fi is community service. The page still watermarked, and this time the WebKit version gave away an old iPad they didn't patch. The AML lead looped in, legal, and asked, gently, if we could provide a narrative timeline. I sent a one-page index, event, timestamp, source, hash, no adjectives, just the shape of the day. A text from my sister landed, "You win. Can we talk?" I left it unread. Words are friction. Proof is leverage. Their lawyer filed an emergency motion for temporary control. Possession, uncooperative trustee, need to secure assets. We filed our answer with a tampered digest notarized via e-seal. Device certs attached. UTC offsets explicit DOE. Clips synchronized to entries in the log ladder. The judge's clerk scheduled a hearing and, because some days are neat, flagged the special master proposal my attorney had waiting. I tasted syrup and salt and relief. They made a last push in person at a different branch. Teller scanned. Manager smiled. We'll be in touch. Outside, they argued in a car that leaks sound like a screen door. The dashboard cam they didn't know they owned, mine, peeking from a street-facing nest, saw lips form stolen and fight. The microphone over my driveway caught. He set us up, which is almost right. I set up a mirror. By dusk, money hadn't moved. Flags had. Soft freezes, internal advisories, special master on deck. I watched my porch light breathe, locks choose their stance, and the house do the part Dad meant. Not rescue, not revenge, record. The house becomes a witness. They tried drowning the truth with a bucket. The router closet door cracked, and water marched across the floor like it had a job. The house barely blinked. LTE failover booted. Cams whispered to the cloud. Time codes locked to NTP, and the monotonic counter like a metronome refusing drama. Syslog shipped to the immutable bucket. Object lock set to stubborn. You can splash a witness. You can't make it forget. Upstairs, the ceiling mic heard a stage whisper, "If anything's offline, we move fast." The speaker answered with the same calm line, "Please present identification for executor access." Their silence said more than any ID. The living room dome saw them triangulate the blind spots they thought they'd mapped last visit. A tea towel smothered one eye. The other eye watched through the towel's weave. ISO nudged up by an automation that guesses fabrics like a tailor. In the foyer mirror, a phone reflection betrayed a lock screen. Old iOS font, 2 missed calls, and the time lining up with my logs within a heartbeat. Alignment feels like gravity when you're building a case. The hallway thermal cam caught the torch brighten, then the lock heat like a ring on a stove. The pinhole behind Dad's copy of Gödel, Escher, Bach watched the latch give and the hand slide in. He muttered, "Found it open," rehearsing the future. The shelf mic filed that sentence under intent, subfolder, pretext. I didn't add a caption. Courts don't need my commentary. Downstairs, the UPS sang its soft board song. 90 minutes of battery, PoE still feeding eyes and hinges. The LTE modem blinked a quiet green, packets stepping into the uplink in 2s and 3s. Every stream carried its own checksum. Every log entry arrived, salted, and signed. When redundancy hums, panic sounds lonely. I watched the kitchen overhead tilt an inch to catch hands. They slid the consent across the island like a debutante. The image sensor loved the page. Tiny laser sheen, staple scars, and the dots you only see when you bully the blue channel. My cloud OCR read it like a bedtime story. MIC pattern present. Timestamp 2:11 a.m. last Tuesday. Serial mapped to their color laser. The island mic caught, "Use this one," and the stamp thunked again, crisper than conscience. They found the rack. My cousin pulled the closet door like it owed him money, squinted at the server faceplate, and said, "He's recording everything." The plate stayed quiet. The temp sensor did a tiny shrug. Heat rises, lies settle. They killed the breaker a second time, savoring the clunk. UPS didn't flinch. NVR kept its buffer. Cameras kept their habits. LTE held the lane. The object store at the far end of the signal wrote another ruled log, locked it, stamped it with UTC, like a librarian stamping due dates. I pictured a row of books that wouldn't burn. They tried conversation with each other like alibis in rehearsal. We're just making sure nothing goes missing. He told me I could have the keepsakes. He's unstable. The mic over the mantle collected phrases, cross-referenced with time. Later, if needed, counsel would lay lines against events and let the math show where adjectives snapped. They poked at a smart lock and pretended it was broken. The hinge contact read, open, close, open, then tantrum. The log annotated each change with device certs embedded. The house isn't jealous, it's precise. Water kept lapping the rack's threshold. A float switch tripped and texted me a shrug. Ingress detected, mitigation active. A floor cam at ankle height watched the reflection of their legs in the flood, distortions sinking to their steps. A physics alibi that pairs with time better than anyone's word. I let a slow breath out. People think evidence is a clip. It's usually geometry. They rummage drawers with the guilty confidence of people who think they're righteous. The pantry mic got a joke about my coffee being paranoid. The office mic heard, email the bank now, say we're securing assets. The VoIP bridge recorded SIP headers for their follow-up call. No steers shaken attestation, another red circle around a spoof suspect call. The decoy admin page pinged again in the background. The watermark wrote IP, time, device UA along the bottom, like a subtitle you can't turn off. Then the house did the thing Dad designed for days like this. It testified. Automations compiled a tamper digest, salted and signed each line, rolled a Merkle tree, and pinned the root hash with a trusted time authority. Export included UTC offsets and device certs. I watched the digest land in counsel's inbox and felt a knot in my chest loosen the way knots do when they finally believe there's a sailor around. They threw a sheet over a camera and cheered like kids winning hide and seek. The angle behind the plant had them the whole time. Two perspectives are mercy when one angle lies. The foyer dome stole a glance at the printer's power LED breathing. The hallway cam grabbed the flicker on the page as the fuser cooled. The island overhead caught my sister's hand hover a second over Dad's watch, then pull back like the face stared. Little hesitations become big tells when the lights are honest. I worried about optics, the petty tech bro paranoia headline. So I let the house choose tone. No taunts, no gotchas. Just the same neutral prompt. Please present identification for executor access. The decision to ignore it, logged each time, mattered more than any speech. They left when the totes felt full enough to justify the drive and the story. The front door closed. The latch clicked. The hallway mic recorded a last line in the stairwell. Hill full. The system marked exit. Geofence cleared. Battery percentages climbed. Uplink thinned to background. The witness exhaled. I didn't. Not yet. I scrubbed the timeline, cross-checked time codes, matched breaths to steps, and let the monotonic counter be my heartbeat. Forced access during pending litigation. Refusals to identify. Altered locks. A flood that missed its mark. Chain of custody preserved via signed logs and rolling hashes. The house had spoken in the only language it trusts.
The court ping,
and for automation meets the judge.
Translate.
The night before the hearing, the house built its own affidavit. Automations woke, swept the day's noise into rows, salted every line, signed each entry, and stacked them into a Merkle tree like bricks. On the hour, the root hash took a trip to a trusted time authority and came back notarized in UTC. The export included device certs and time zone offsets because judges hate mystery and love clocks. My attorney texted one word. Ready? I sent one back. Send. He filed a packet that looked like boredom in a suit. Synchronized clips stitched to the log ladder. Each segment stamped with a hash and cross-referenced by timestamp down to the millisecond. On page 1, a digest labeled tamper log. Entries 0001 to 0432. On page 2, an index camera ID, source path, device cert fingerprint, UTC offset, and the corresponding root hash anchored at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. The cover note was a sentence a clerk could read without coffee. System of record export with cryptographic chain of custody. House network events aligned to filed claims. I didn't go. That was the point. Pattern interrupt. I don't show. My house testifies. I sat in my diner booth with waffles and a weak sun through cheap blinds and watched the overhead lights at home flip on in a quiet sweep I'd scheduled for comfort months ago. The sound in my earbuds was a room breathing evenly. In court, their attorney tried charm before volume. Possession, urgency, family, hurt. The judge listened, pens lining up like soldiers. My attorney waited, then slid the first exhibit across, a QR code to the synchronized reel. The court monitor bloomed with a Fourier shot. 2 keypad fails, the calm voice asking for executor identification. The audio transcript scrolled at the bottom, time-aligned captions pinned to UTC with a smug little colon. Then a split screen, thermal lock heating, torch flare, and the hallway mic catching, "We'll say we found it open." The judge's eyebrow twitched like a metronome acknowledging tempo. Opposing counsel objected to ambush tech theater. My attorney stayed manual flat, not theater, business records and logs. He pointed to the footer, chain of custody hash, Merkle root, time authority stamp, device certs. He said salted once and signed twice. He didn't say genius. He said repeatable. The judge asked the right question. How do I know this wasn't edited last night? My attorney paged to the Merkle hash ladder. Each log entry hashed, grouped, and rolled up. Each hourly root hash anchored by an independent time authority. He showed object lock receipts from the cloud bucket and cross-email to counsel's archive. If you alter a leaf, the root changes. The anchored roots won't match. The judge leaned back. So if I asked you to replicate this digest tomorrow, my attorney, you'll get the same roots for prior hours. New leaves appended. Identical ancestry. Opposing counsel pivoted to feelings. This is punitive. The room saw paper instead. The MICD code slid into evidence. Yellow dot pattern grid, timestamp 2:11 a.m. Printer serial mapped to a specific model. Exhibit pairing. Still frame of the printer's power, LED breathing. Hallway cam reflection of their phone in glass. PDF audit with user-agent that put them in macOS 12.6.3 while my fleet lives on 13. The judge didn't smile. He stacked pages and said, to no one, facts have a sound. We hit the Notary ghost next. Stamp number tied to an expired license. Seal bitmap edges grittier than the document's baseline compression. EXIF from the clip stuck in the wrong time zone with a commodity webcam vendor ID. Then the call log. Callback from a burner with no steer/shaken attestation. Sector coverage consistent with my brother's gem. The judge asked if the court could rely on this as business records from a system of record. My attorney nodded. Exports generated automatically, in the ordinary course, certified with device certs, anchored in time. The House, through counsel, said, yes. Then came the when you hear more than see. The judge froze estate actions. No transfers, no inventory, no creative possession. He appointed a special master, a forensic with patience and a fondness for clocks, to take exclusive control of account movements and review the filings with someone who understands both acronyms and daylight. Opposing counsel asked for carve-outs. The judge said, flat, no. I refilled coffee and let the warmth land in my hands. On my screen, the porch light breathed like a chest. A gull screamed something old outside the diner. I ordered extra butter. Grief and relief live in different ribs. Both were noisy. As the clerk typed, my attorney texted, you're covered. I typed back, House says hi. He didn't reply. He didn't have to. The court had just heard a building speak and believed it. Outside, I walked to the edge of the parking lot and watched traffic write small stories in turn signals. At home, automations rolled another digest. Root hash anchored. The judge's order slid into my inbox with a tone my phone reserves for weather and warnings. I opened it and read the sentence twice. All estate actions are stayed. Special master appointed. Parties to preserve all records. What happens when rats realize the maze is alive? They stop running in straight lines. They chew. They smear. They bite. Therefore, I vanished. Ghost mode full send. Nuclear ghosting. Erase, replace, reverse. The order landed like a soft click. Stay granted. Special master appointed. That's when I stopped being reachable. Not a tantrum. Protocol. Nuclear ghosting isn't drama. It's subtraction. I started with the anchors. Carrier poured out pin set and printed on a card that lived nowhere near me. SIM swap locks enabled across accounts that make you hold forever. Bank and email flipped to hardware keys only. Recovery keys rotated, written twice, sealed, and mailed to a P.O. box with a name that wasn't mine yet. Passkeys everywhere like spare ribs. Then I erased my reflection. Socials went quiet, not deleted. That's a tell. Just frozen in polite stasis. One scheduled obituary from my old email. A line that looked like an HR memo. Account decommissioned. I booked a month-to-month sublet under a boring alias and signed a lease where the building only knows me as the IT guy who tips. Travel east, Dad said without saying it. Distance helps logs work. I left the car in the driveway and handed myself a decoy, a twin sedan with a dash cam I'd tuned into a honeypot. It chewed roads into telemetry, GPS, accelerometer, microphone, then fed itself into the same hash ladder as the house logs. If anyone tailed me, they'd be following a ghost that wrote its own affidavit. House side, I rewired tone. No new tricks, just stronger mirrors. Every entry opened a bigger can of proof. Door sensors stamped UTC and device certs. Cams whispered to cloud storage with object lock. LTE failover pulsed steady. If they touched anything, the witness responded like a calm nurse noting vitals. Boundaries needed teeth. I didn't have to show. I registered a new number on a plan outside their carrier ecosystem, ported the old to a quarantine line with a voicemail that said the line was retired. Email aliases folded like paper cranes into a single inbox behind hardware keys. Utilities rerouted. Mail forwarders split bills from letters so nothing sentimental could be weaponized. I put bait where their curiosity breathes. The decoy admin panel got one more flourish. If they logged in again, it would serve a PDF called Final Executor Access, empty except for a translucent lattice of IP, time, device UA, and a unique tracking hash per viewer that survived screenshots. A second beacon lived in the document metadata because people love dragging files into chat threads. Morality tugged. Was this cruelty or boundary? Silence answers slowly. I set a rule. If they stopped, everything dimmed to quiet maintenance. If they pushed, the house talked louder. I could live with that. I didn't have to like it. They noticed the car first. My cousin bragged in a group text I didn't read that they'd made him nervous because they saw me on Elm. The dash cam, patient and cruel, time-stamped the tale, captured their plates in the convex mirror at the gas station, recorded them laughing about teaching me a lesson. The audio fed into the same digest, rolled into the Merkle tree, rooted in time. Stalking is louder when math speaks. Next came the smear. A post, he stole Dad's house. Photos of the porch, a caption about betrayal, comments that used my name like it owed them rent. I said nothing. Not a like, not a dot. Instead, a single public link from a burner account to the court's filings. No caption, no flair, just the docket that showed stay, special master, and exhibits any bored stranger could click. Facts are hard on gossip. Dark corners lit up. Mom's friend had a printer at home that liked leaving freckles. MIC yellow dots that matched the consent form. My scan grid recognized the pattern in a photo she posted of a church flyer, a tiny timestamp cowering near the margin. Paper always sings on the same pitch. The special master emailed a schedule. He wanted clean exports and an index. I sent the house's digest, device certs, UTC offsets, root hashes anchored every hour, and a one-page legend like a museum plaque. What each camera sees, what each sensor hears, where each automation files its boredom. He replied with a thumbs-up emoji, which is the legal equivalent of a nod that costs money. Meanwhile, I hardened exits. MFA on the P.O. box. A burner for deliveries I'd never love. The sublet learned my face. Nothing else did. I memorized the handful of words I'd say if I ran into them. Please speak to counsel. Then I practiced saying nothing at all. Cornered animals bite. I expected the next snap. They tried a door one night with the steady patience of people who think locks respect insistence. The house inhaled, logged the attempt, and sent the same neutral prompt. Please present identification for executor access. They ignored it. Logs don't. I walked the beach and let the wind empty the parts of me that wanted to gloat. Dad's voice folded into the surf. Trust, verify, then verify the verification. I trusted the house. I verified my exits. I verified that silence, when paired with proof, isn't cowardice, it's discipline. Then I sat with the line I'd chosen. Boundary, not punishment. If they stopped, I'd stop. If they kept going, the record would fatten until a court could read it without me. Nuclear ghosting isn't vanishing. It's refusing to be reachable by anything except the truth. Public war. You don't fight. It started with a photo of my porch and a caption that tasted like metal. He stole Dad's house. My sister posted it at sunset, the algorithm's favorite hour for grievances. Comments arrived like hail. Cousins I hadn't heard from since middle school became experts in probate. A neighbor typed shame. Someone suggested prayer. Someone else suggested court. I didn't type anything. Public war wants sparring partners. I gave it a wall. The only motion I made was a link from a burner with no history. Public docket, stay granted, special master appointed, exhibits that read like a clock that never blinks. No caption, no subtweets, just the weight of a PDF. A few commenters clicked and went quiet. Most didn't. Rage prefers pictures to paragraphs. Behind the feed, I followed the paper. Mom's friend posted a church bake sale flyer, proud of fonts and frosting. I downloaded it, pulled the blue channel down, and the MIC freckles stood up like a confession. Same dot grid, same printer, same date pattern language she couldn't read. Paper sings in key even when the song is about cupcakes. Their lawyer tried a thread of his own, vague law-ish language about bad faith and withholding. He tagged a legal podcast. I tagged nothing. My attorney filed a short update with the court. Supplemental digest, UTC offsets, device certs, root hashes anchored hourly. The special master replied with one line I wanted to frame. Received, preserving in ordinary course. Internet wars feel big. That sentence felt like gravity. The smear metastasized. An old classmate DM'd a cousin who screenshot it and posted. A neighbor claimed I always hated family. Someone invented a tantrum I never had. My phone buzzed like a cheap neon sign. I pushed it face down and let the house hum in my ear. Please present identification for executor access, it said. Same tone as always. Discipline lives in repetition. They pivoted to keepsakes, a phrase that pretends theft is heritage. We're rescuing Dad's things from a tyrant. They made a date. They posted the date. Followers wrote hearts and threats. I ate noodles and counted exits. Public performance makes people sloppy. Sloppiness leaves timestamps. That night, a burner account messaged me a paragraph of acid and a selfie at my gate. The photo carried EXIF they forgot to strip. GPS, firmware, time. I saved it with a quiet thank you to physics. The next morning, my decoy car earned its keep. The dashcam caught their convoy idling. Plates reflected in a storefront window. Laughter about going viral. Telemetry stamped speed, heading, and the song on their radio bleeding into the mic. The honeypot doesn't judge. It just remembers. They posted a video at noon. Mom's friend crying about a chair. My chair. Under the tears, the printer breathed in the background. Power LED pulsing. I checked frame cadence. Jump cuts where context wanted to walk in. Grief is messy. Editing grief is strategy. I made tea and let the kettle argue with the part of me that wanted to clap back. Instead, receipts. My counsel sent the special master a calm index. New public statements referencing possession during stay. Social posts time aligned to geofence pings. Externalization of keepsake pretext. We appended the same neutral digests. Front door failures, executor ID prompts ignored. Door contacts opening, cameras whispering, hash ladder rooted on the hour. The reply came like a lifeguard whistle. Acknowledge. Advise parties to cease self-help. Court notified. They tried a morning show pitch. A producer nibbled, then called the clerk for comment and got under review. The bite died. Internet sympathy started curdling. Someone pulled the docket and posted a screenshot. Stay order, big and boring. The comments split. Half doubled down. Half found chores to do. Mom's friend blinked into my messages with a new story. She'd been misled. I didn't reply. My dad's voice did. Trust, verify the verification. I checked her bake sale flyer against the consent MIC again. Same lattice, same cereal. The page doesn't care what story you tell it. It speaks its own. They pushed one more frame. He's recording us without consent. The room laughed without sound. Trespass has no expectation of privacy. Also, speakers at my door had asked 5 times for executor identification. They had decided to be unseen on camera while curating themselves for the internet. You can't be both. The last loud thing they tried was a threat about me weaponizing tech. I let it hang. Weapon implies harm. I had mirrors. The special master emailed schedules, asked for neutral exports, pressed for preservation. I sent digests, UTC offsets, device certs, root hashes anchored hourly, and a 1-page legend for the impatient. He wrote back, clear, consistent, sufficient. I walked the beach and let my anger burn down to a coal. Public war feeds on oxygen. I had vents that closed on schedule. The house dimmed its lights in the pattern. I taught it when Dad was still making pancakes. Justice isn't loud, it's accurate. They posted. I didn't. And every time the algorithm tried to drag me in, the logs grew another ring, tight and quiet, like a tree that outlives the storm. The lock-in, karma, automated. They picked noon because noon feels righteous. 3 cars again, totes again. A camera phone held high like a badge. The geofence tingled, the porch sensor coughed, and the house slid into its calm voice. Please present identification for executor access. No one reached for a wallet. My sister palmed the keypad, failed twice with purpose, and smiled at her audience. Inside, motion stitched a path, foyer to hall to office. The thermal cam watched the lock heat. The shelf mic caught. Door was open, right? The breaker clunked, and the rack rode battery without changing its breathing. LTE tugged the uplink back into place in 12 seconds. The house doesn't flinch. It logs. Then the trigger I'd rehearsed in my head 100 times tripped by itself. Contempt risk active. The automation called the non-emergency line with a script I'd written when my hands weren't shaking. Hello. Ongoing trespass at state premises. Live feed available. Court order on file. The dispatcher took the line like it was a grocery list, received the link, and watched what I watched. My family narrating their own charges. Smart locks engaged in a polite cascade. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Windows sealed because I like quiet HVAC. And today, airtight facts. The house didn't trap, it preserved. Exits remained code legal. The interior, though, clicked into a maze that hums timestamps at every turn. Lights followed them room to room in a soft, unfun spotlight, raising lux levels just enough for facial feature vectors to min or max. The island mic documented breath and bravado. This is illegal, Mom's friend said to the ceiling, waiting for a debate. The speaker answered with a steady line. Please present identification for executor access. My brother tried the backslider with the same insistence he uses on vending machines. The lock motor offered a no that sounded like a lullaby. The mantle cam cut to a split. Left panel, their hands on handles. Right panel, the judge's stay order framed on a tablet propped by the entry table. The overlay burned UTC in the corner. If a court wanted present tense, the house delivered. They huddled near the office again. Call 911, my sister said, and then remembered the internet. Go live. A red dot bloomed on her phone. My overlay watermarked her stream with IP, time, device UA, because kindness is clarity. The chat filled with strangers demanding monologues. The house asked, again, for executor ID. Ignored, again. A minute later, a knock that didn't ask permission. Officers stepped into the foyer, their body cams chirping their own stamps. The speaker greeted, Executive audit in progress. Please present identification for executor access. The first officer looked at the tablet with the court order, looked at my brother, then back at the camera eye like he'd met a competent witness. Folks, we've been advised this property is under a stay. We need IDs. My brother pitched posture. Family home. He's unstable. The officer kept his hands loose and his sentences shorter. ID. My sister produced a driver's license like it was a dare. The second officer tilted his head toward the kitchen island, toward the stamped consent that still breathed laser dots. He didn't touch it. He didn't have to. The dispatcher patched the judge's clerk to the call. Speakerphone turned the room into a waiting room. The clerk's voice came through dry as unbuttered toast. Parties are reminded all estate actions are stayed. Any entry or removal may be grounds for contempt. preserve records. The house, helpful as an usher, dimmed lights over the door and brightened them over the island. Cameras respected faces. Mics caught the softest exhale that meant fear finally outran pride. No one was cuffed. This wasn't that story. Trespass documented, statements taken, a tidy note logged, and a suggestion delivered with civility. Step outside. Await further instruction. They stepped. The smart locks chirped to neutral, and the porch cam caught the moment their faces met a future with fewer adjectives. The officer asked if the remote owner could provide additional footage. Counsel replied, "Yes," before my thumb moved. The digest rolled. The hash ladder grew. Root hash went to the time authority like a letter you mail to yourself when you're ready to be believed. I watched from my booth, hands around a coffee I didn't drink. Relief arrived with guilt riding shotgun. Justice has a weight, and sometimes it sits in your chest like a guest you didn't invite. I let the feeling pass through like weather. The house dimmed lights in a sequence Dad liked. Hall, kitchen, foyer, then exhaled the kind of mechanical sigh that makes you think machines get it. They lingered at the curb broadcast, turned off, eyes darting like Wi-Fi looking for a handshake. The officer handed them a copy of the incident log number and a printed reminder about the stay. Mom's friend stared at the paper like it might grow a better stamp. My sister glanced at the camera and found no face to fight. Open loop, closed. How do you nuke family? Quietly, with logs. And when the door clicked shut behind them, the final sound wasn't triumph. It was the soft tick of a system returning to idle accuracy, winning by being dull and undeniable. The reckoning. Money back, names off. Reckonings don't sound like thunder. They stamp, sort, and file. A week after the lock-in, the court dropped orders shaped like guardrails. Restitution calculated in neat columns. Emergency control claim denied. Executor claim stripped like decals in a car wash. The special master's report read like rainfall on tin. Regular, cold, thorough. He recommended audit costs assessed to them. The judge agreed with the kind of pen stroke that makes grown egos feel small. Money that tried to move came back home like a leash got tugged. Partial transfers reversed. Pending wires canceled. Holds hardened into policy. Internal memos bloomed at banks none of us ever see. Do not honor documents bearing that stamp number. Flag UA strings and IP blocks that smell like their office suite. Escalate any contact on those accounts to legal with the digest index attached. The system, finally awake, did what it's supposed to do when people act clever near other people's money. Their lawyer withdrew. The notice came at 8:12 a.m., wrapped in language that meant malpractice nightmares. Settlement whispers started like frost, quiet, brittle air that carries more than it says. We made mistakes in grief, their side offered, shopping for a discount. My answer went through counsel, stayed bone-colored and plain. Full restitution, names off, audit costs on you, no contact, no narrative. Not an inch of, we were all wrong. We weren't. Mom's friend tried a separate lane. Her counsel sent a letter shaped like a parachute. Cooperative posture, ignorance implied. The MIC dots didn't blink. The special master's appendix paired her printer's yellow dot pattern from the church flyer to the consent. Same grid cadence and encoded date/serial language. She settled fast. Memory can stay kind. Paper stays fluent. Dad's charitable claws peered around the corner then, hand in pocket. He'd written a trigger I'd skimmed when grief was louder. If disputes exceed a threshold of costs, a matching grant pays to the shelter network he used to donate coffee to. The special master tallied hours and invoices, and the claws clicked like a switch. A chunk of money arched out with my signature as trustee, not target. Rooms that used to be cold got heat because people tried to be greedy. That irony didn't taste sweet. It tasted like closure with a job. I kept the house. I didn't move back in. I leased it to the shelter network under a boring contract with language that made my spine match the studs. The locks learned new faces. The cameras looked out, not in. The prompts that once waited on executor ID now asked delivery drivers to leave boxes in the blue bin and wish them a decent day. The rack kept logging because that's how it breathes, but the tone shifted from defense to stewardship. If the power goes out now, it's just weather. Names came off everything that mattered. their fingers lifted from accounts, titles, access lists. I signed the last page in a conference room that smelled like carpet glue and good pens. The clerk stamped with a real seal, living commission, and I watched the impression fill with ink like a lung. No victory lap, just a box checked in a life I wanted to be quieter. I mailed back a photo album to my sister. No note except a post-it on the inside cover, scan next time. The album wasn't bait. It was a boundary wearing shoes. Love family, trust data, keep distance. Those sentences can live together if you let them sit in different chairs. They tried a few last flares. Emails with subject lines like talk and truce. Counsel replied twice, with the same paragraph about orders and channels. After that, the inbox dimmed. Anger ran out of air. The algorithm found someone else to chew. I walked through the empty house once with the shelter's director. She had boots that could stand in floods and a voice that knew budgets. We stood in Dad's office. The steel over wood didn't look like a dare anymore. It looked like a door. She pointed to an outlet and asked about load. I pointed to the subpanel and told her it was labeled now. We both nodded like people who've had long months. Final foreshadow, tucked where only I can reach it. Open door policy? Not without a log. Not because I don't forgive. Because I remember what forgetting costs. The house clicks at night and the ocean hums down the hill, and both sounds tell me the same thing. Silence is not absence. It's order. I left the keys on a hook labeled shelter and walked to the curb. The porch light breathed. I thought of pancakes, checksums, and a man who told me, if they push you, use the house. I did. It used itself. We're both tired. We're both fine. The house clicked once. Lights dimmed to a slow heartbeat, and the logs rolled like tide under floorboards, while the ocean hummed back its steady yes. If this kind of quiet justice hits a nerve, stick around. Subscribe for more stories where data wins and noise takes a seat. Drop your wildest tech, trap ideas in the comments. I read the good ones twice. And if you want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes, watch the next episode where a lost crypto cold wallet tries to launder itself through a DeFi mixer and meets a breadcrumb it can't shake.